9 weeks I've climbed this hill in the dark, and 9 weeks you've sent me home with a word in my pocket I never once thought to turn over. Measure. You've laid it on me 100 times, and then you measure it, soft as butter, as though it named nothing at all, as though it were a quiet man with a ruler jotting down a length. But last week the word grew teeth on me. You set a magnet in front of me that reached into an electron, wiped a fact clean off it, and chalked a fresh one up in its place. A fact I'd checked 3 times over, gone, at one sideways glance. So I've not come for a number this morning, I've come for the word itself. What is a measurement?
Get your hands over the grate first. You've ridden up the colour of the frost again. I can see it from the door. Then take the coat off slowly, because you've come for the sorest word in the trade, and you've come, as it happens, on exactly the right morning to have it out. I'll tell you before you've the coat off the second shoulder, this is the one word I have dodged 9 weeks running. Not because it's beneath us, because it's the one word nobody living can hand you clean.
Let me be sure I've heard you right by this fire. We have spent 9 weeks on waves that stroll through solid walls, on an electron with no width to it at all, on a twist with no wheel under it to do the twisting, the strangest freight a man ever hauled up a hill in the cold. And you sit there and tell me the one thing in the whole load that nobody can define is what happens when I glance at the thing. The looking. After the tunnels and the twists and the dice, the thing with no bottom under it is a man opening his eyes.
Every strangeness I've handed you these 9 weeks arrived at the same instant. The instant somebody looked. The wave refused to be pinned when you looked. The coin came down heads when you looked. The magnet wiped the fact when you looked. All course long, the trouble's been hiding inside that one innocent verb, and we kept our eyes politely on the wave and our backs to the looking. This morning we turn round and stare at it.
The floor's not quite where I left it. I can feel that already. Where do we set the first foot?
Back at the 2 rules, the pair I laid bare for you that Schrödinger night, by this same grate, and then slid straight under a cloth before you could get a hand on either. You remember there were 2 of them.
A splinter you never quite dug out. That's the pair of them, lodged in me these 9 weeks. 2 rulebooks that plainly won't shake hands, one for when nobody's watching, one for the instant somebody is. Give them back to me square, the both of them, before you start breaking things again.
Fair terms, and I'll keep them side by side as I lay them, because the trouble is a thing you only ever see when the pair of them are on the one table at once.
The smooth book on my left hand, the snapping book on my right. Lay them down.
The first rule, then, the one I handed you whole and working. Leave the wave alone, nothing watching, nothing touching it, and it rolls forward by Schrödinger's own law. Smooth, sure, deterministic to the last clock hand, every bit as certain as anything Newton ever set down on the old clockwork table. It carries every maybe at once, the whole spread of them folded together, and it never throws a die in the doing of it. Hand the rule the wave as it stands, and its entire future unrolls, fixed, tight as a drum. That first rule you may trust with your full weight, and so may I.
No dice in the rolling. I remember the shock of that from the Schrödinger night. You handed me a determinism, and I checked your pockets on the way out the door.
The other pocket, then. Here it is at last. The rolling has no dice, and you never once get to watch the rolling. Every look squares it away to a dot before your eye can so much as land on it.
The serene one. The wave doing its homework in the dark with no dice anywhere in the sum. And the second. The one that kicks the door in the moment I look.
The instant you measure, the wave quits its smooth rolling. Dead. It throws Feynman's odds. The squaring, the height multiplied by itself that you bled weeks over. And it snaps, all at once, from the whole spread of maybe, down to the single answer you find in your hand. No glide to it whatsoever. A jump. The many become the one, and every other possibility the wave was carrying just vanishes, as though it had never once been there.
So the one rule's a smooth glide and the other's a guillotine. The wave rolls on, sure as sunrise, and then a look drops the blade, and a whole fan of maybes is cut down to a single fact in one breath. Two laws that don't even move the same way, let alone belong together in the one book.
And the world reaches for the right one every single time. Never fumbles. Never opens the smooth one when it ought to snap. Whatever draws that line, it draws it flawlessly, and it will not show us the pen.
A bookkeeper who won't let me near his ledger. There's the thing that follows a man down the hill and stands at the foot of his bed all night.
And now the wound in the middle of it. The thing I only let you see the edge of last time. The theory hands you both rules. It does not tell you when the first one stops and the second one starts. There's no line written anywhere in the mathematics, no mark that says, here the smooth rolling ends and here the snap takes over. The rules themselves are exact, either one to the last decimal. The seam between them is blank.
Carved in stone, both laws, and the join between them written in smoke. That's a queer way to build the surest thing in the world.
Nobody built it so on purpose, mind. The two rules were each forced on us, apart, by facts we hadn't the room to argue with. It's only when you set them touching that the smoke rises off the seam.
Well, surely that's the easy part. Small things get rule 1, big things get rule 2. The electron rolls smooth, the cat and the cricket bat snap. There's your line. Somewhere between the tiny and the everyday, the world quietly changes its book. A size. Draw it there and we can both go home.
At what heft, then? Tell me where the first rule hands over to the second. Is it a speck of dust? A grain of sand off the beach? A flea? Nobody can point to it, and there's a reason nobody can. The reason is a machine a man once built in his head precisely to embarrass that very hope, and I'll wager you've heard its name your whole life. Schrodinger's cat.
The same man whose rule you handed me whole and trustworthy, he turns round and builds a machine to embarrass his own law?
The very same, and there's honour in it. A man sure enough of his own rule to chase it all the way out to its most absurd corner, in the open, and say, look where my law leads if I let it. Surely this cannot be the whole of the story.
The cat. I've had that cat purring at the back of my skull since I was a boy, and never once been told straight what the poor creature is for. Everyone waves it about at parties, nobody sets it down and explains it. So set it down for me. What is the cat actually for?
Let me build the rig first, piece by piece, and you'll watch the point assemble itself under your own eyes. Start with a quantum coin, and we've the honest article to hand, no need to invent one. Take a single atom of the sort that might, or might not, have spat out its little piece in the last hour by tunnelling clean through its own wall. The walking through walls from a fortnight back. Wait just long enough that it's a genuine even wager, half may and half mayn't. And now the atom is your coin, still spinning in the air.
Decayed and not decayed. The honest blur you drilled into me till my teeth ached. Not, it went off and I've yet to check. No fact of the matter yet which way it fell. That coin.
Nobody argues about the atom. It truly is a blur. We've made its stripes with our own two hands. So hold on to how small and how honest that coin is. Every strangeness still to come rides in on a thing you already believe.
So you'll not let me wriggle out the back by doubting the atom? Good, I don't. I've seen its fence with my own eyes.
That coin. Now I chain it up to something big, link by link. Set a detector beside the atom that clicks if, and only if, The atom has spat its piece. Wire that click to a little hammer. Stand the hammer over a glass flask. Fill the flask with something the cat, sealed in the box alongside, could not possibly outlive, and shut the lid down on the lot of it.
So, now the grim clockwork's bolted together. Atom spits, detector clicks, hammer falls, flask breaks, and the cat's story is over. Atom holds its peace, detector's silent, hammer waits, flask stands whole, cat purrs on. The cat's living or not is welded, rung by rung, straight onto the atoms, decayed or not. The same coin as ever, only now it's wearing a cat.
Now run the first rule up that chain honestly, and refuse it every convenient stop. If the atom is a true blur, decayed and not, both at once, and it is, then the detector, reading it, does not snap the atom to one answer. Rule 1 won't allow it. It joins the blur. Clicked and not clicked, tangled onto the atom. And the hammer joins it, and the flask, and at the top of the ladder, the cat. Naive Rule 1, walked the whole way up without a single stop, predicts the cat inherits the atom's blur entire. Gone and not gone. A cat with no settled answer as to whether it's alive.
Now, hold on and let me stand my ground a moment because I don't much care for where you're driving me. I'll not grieve that cat. A coin still spinning in the air is not a dead cat. A maybe is only a maybe. It's odds, that's all of it. And odds never once killed a living creature. I refuse, on principle, to be sad about a maybe cat. Come back when the coin's landed, and I'll mourn it properly.
It isn't the odds you ought to be minding. Hear what Rule 1 is actually saying, because it's a great deal worse than it's probably one or the other and you've simply not peaked. It's saying there is no fact of the matter at all. Not the cat's alive or dead and the answer's kept from you. The cat is in no definite state whatsoever, purring and cold, laced into the one thing. The way the electron carried no true tilt, sitting in the dark until your magnet went and asked it. That is the thing to turn your stomach. Not a hidden answer. No answer there to hide.
The same beast, then. The electron with no tilt in the dark, not shy about its answer, but with no answer there to be shy about.
The identical beast, only grown to the size of a cat. And that growth is the trick of the machine. A tiltless electron you'd swallow by now, 9 weeks in. A cat with no fact of life or death in it. That you cannot get down.
No, that's not a thing the world holds. I've buried cats, more than one, and I promise you each was one thing or the wholly other, every single time, whether I'd looked or not. There was never a cat that was neither while my back was turned. The world doesn't stock that animal.
And there, just there, is what the machine is for. The man who dreamed it up did not build it to boast that cats are blurs. He built it to shame his own first rule, to take you by the collar and say, look, if you let the smooth rule run unchecked all the way up, from your honest little atom to the everyday world, it promises you a monster. And nobody, in all the long history of opening boxes, has ever once met that monster.
So the cat's not a claim at all, it's an accusation. A man pointing at Rule 1 and saying, your law, followed to the letter, hands me a thing that has never in all the world been seen. So something is missing out of you.
A trap laid for the seam and baited with a cat. Whatever's true down among the atoms, and the blur is true down there, we've watched it lace its own stripes. We never, not one time, open a box onto a smeared cat. We find a live one, or we find a sad, still one. Never the shimmer of both. The blur's real for the atom, and gone by the time we reach the cat. So something happens on the climb up that ladder. The cat's whole reason for drawing breath is to ask, with its life, what happens, and where?
Then the cat's done its work the moment it's asked. It doesn't need answering to sting. It stings by being asked at all.
A good question is worth more than its answer, more often than we like to admit. And this one has outlived its asker by a lifetime and more, and never once stopped stinging. We're going to spend the rest of this morning failing, honestly, to pull it out.
Then let's do the obvious thing and walk the ladder ourselves, rung by rung, and catch the blur in the act of dying. Somewhere between the atom and the cat, it gives up the ghost. Let's stand on the very rung where it does. Where does the blur die?
Start at the bottom, where nobody argues. The atom, alone, in the dark, touched by nothing. A true blur, decayed and not. Solid ground, that. Now the detector leans in to take its reading, and clicks, or doesn't.
There. Surely that's your measurement, and your lines drawn for you. The detector's the looker. The blur dies the instant the detector reads it. Rung 1. Done.
Say it does die there. Now look hard at what the detector is made of. Atoms. Waves. The very same Rule 1 stuff as the atom it's reading. No finer, no different, blessed with no special power at all. So why should it get to end the blur, when it's cut from the identical cloth? Run the first rule on the detector too, honestly, and it does not snap the atom to an answer. It tangles with it. Now the detector's own pointer is the blur, clicked and not, welded onto the atom's decayed and not.
So the blur didn't die at the detector, it ate the detector, climbed one rung, and swallowed the very thing I sent up to kill it.
And it does not stop there, because the dial the pointer sits on is Rule 1 stuff, and the photon that leaves the dial is Rule 1 stuff, and your eye that catches the photon, and the wet grey machinery packed in behind your eye. Apply the first rule faithfully, link after link, and it never once volunteers a place to stop. It just keeps eating rungs, on up and out of the room.
Could I not catch it, though? Look at the detector quick enough, sharp enough, to see the pointer caught halfway between clicked and not.
Look and you find the pointer at the one reading or the other every time. Never caught halfway. But that's no rescue at all. Your looking is one more rung on the ladder, one more handshake. You didn't catch the blur dying. You joined it.
Then where in heaven's name does it stop? Walk it up with me, out loud, the whole sorry parade. The atom, the detector, the pointer on the dial, the light bouncing off the dial, my eye, the jelly behind my eye, the friend I telephoned that night to tell it to, the friend's husband, who asks him over their dinner how the day at work went, and the husband's mother, and the postman at the gate, and the wide, turning world besides. Won't the arithmetic draw the line anywhere along that road?
Nowhere. Not at the eye, not at the mind, not at the postman. Nowhere in all that chain does the mathematics draw a line and announce, here, on this rung and no other, the blur becomes a fact. It blesses no rung above its neighbour. And you've got the parade exactly, mind. It isn't a joke. Or if it is, it's a joke the arithmetic tells with an absolutely straight face.
But it must stop somewhere. A world with a smeared cat and a smeared postman is raving madness, and I plainly do not live in it. I live in one where the cat's a cat, and the postman's a postman, and the letters get delivered on time. So the line is real. It is somewhere.
It's somewhere in your world, past all doubt. You're standing in the proof of it. It's just nowhere in the theory. That gap, the theory naming both rules and drawing no line between them, that gap is the thing itself. It has a name we've circled for weeks now, the measurement problem. And it is not a riddle waiting on one clever afternoon. It's a hole. It has stood open 100 years, and it is open this morning, by this fire, between the two of us.
So this isn't a fresh crack sprung by some clever new experiment. It's been under the building since the foundation stone was laid.
The people who first wrote the rules down felt it in the room with them. argued it to exhaustion, and handed it down to us unsolved. We've only grown better since at saying precisely how unsolved it is.
Then let me guess where the line falls, because I think I can feel the shape of it under my hand. It's the mind, isn't it? The whole chain up to now is dead machinery, atoms, dials, jelly, all of it blind, until a mind arrives that actually knows the answer. The blur dies the instant there's a someone home to witness it. The looking needs a looker, a consciousness.
No. And this is the one place by this fire where I'll raise my voice, because it's the exact spot where good sense goes to drown. Drag no minds into this. The moment you make measurement mean a mind took notice, you have dressed physics up in the robes of mysticism. And I promise you the robes do not fit. That road runs straight down into a swamp, and there's a firm, dry path one step to the left of it.
But it feels like my knowing matters. I open the box, I learn the cat. Surely my mind did something the dust could not.
Your mind did the very thing the dust did. No grander, no less. It tangled with the cat and took a copy of the witch. You feel like the important one only because you're the one who remembers it after. The remembering is yours. The measuring was dumb, long before you ever arrived.
Then, if it isn't the mind that's special, what is? You keep swearing something about the looking is.
A doing, and cold, dead matter does it all day long, with never a thought in its head. Look again at what the detector already accomplished, alone, in an empty, locked room, with no eye within a mile of it. It tangled itself onto the atom and wrote down which, clicked, or didn't, in a way you could never afterward quietly rub out. A rock can do that much. A speck of dust can do it. A single stray photon that glances off the thing and flies away carrying the news can do it. A measurement is a handshake, an irreversible, tangling handshake with something big and messy. And a mind is nowhere in the definition of it.
Then why can I not simply unshake the hand, reach out and take the news back off the photon? You keep calling it irreversible.
Because the news never rides on one photon you could chase down. It's smeared across billions, each one flying off its own way at the speed of light, out into a room you will never sweep clean again. Not forbidden, mind, just more hopeless than unringing a struck bell in a gale.
So the cold detector measured the atom long before ever I looked at its dial. No witness required at all. The dust measures. The very air measures.
Ceaselessly, yes. And there is the thread I've been leading you toward this whole climb. You asked me where the blur dies. The honest modern answer is not a rung on your ladder at all. It's a culprit you'd never once have thought to suspect. And it has been in the room the entire time you were hunting up the ladder for it.
In the room? What in the room?
Everything in it. This is the piece that turned the question from flat despair into something with real daylight in it. So let me lay it down slow. Take your atom, your honest little blur, and keep it in the cold and the dark, touched by nothing, utterly alone. And it will hold its blur happily. Decayed and not, for as long as you leave it be. The blur is hardy in every single way but one. It cannot survive being touched.
Touched how? Touched by what?
By anything at all that walks away carrying news of which way it went. Here's the mechanism, and it's the marrow of the morning, so hold still for it. Two halves of a blur, decayed and not, alive and gone, can only ever prove they were a blur by being brought back together to interfere. That's the one and only tell of a blur in all the world. The stripes on the fence, the two slits waves overlapping and folding themselves into light and dark. No overlap, no stripes. And no stripes, no evidence there was ever a blur there at all.
Of course, the blur announces itself by interfering with its own other half. So if you could somehow kill the overlap, stop the two halves ever meeting again, you'd have killed the only proof the blur was ever there.
And you've done that very thing with your own hands weeks back. The two slits and the little watcher set at one of them. The instant you learned which slit, the stripes died on the fence. The same knife exactly. You let the which way out.
The moment I peeked at that slit, they were gone, and I never once thought of it as the room doing to the cat the very thing I did to the slit.
Now bring the cat back into the room. A cat is vast, and a cat is warm, and it sits there drowning in air and light without a single moment's rest. Every air molecule that bumps against it, every mote of dust, every photon of warmth that leaves its fur. A living cat throws that photon off one way, a gone cat throws it another. So each and every scrap of the world that so much as brushes the cat flies away carrying a tiny record. Which, and the scraps that touch a cat each second, are past all counting.
So the news gets out. Every draft in that sealed box is a little detector I never asked for and never installed, reading the cat and flying off to blab it to the room.
And that is why you have never once met the both-at-once cat. Once a billion scraps of the world have each flown off carrying their own copy of which, the two halves of the blur can never again be fetched back together to overlap. You'd have to chase down every last photon and every air molecule and untell each one its secret, and you never ever could. The two halves can no longer be lined up crest to crest once the room holds the which. Take that on the two slits word tonight. The full why is the tangling I'm saving for later. The overlap's gone. The stripes are impossible. The blur is shredded. Mark me now, not the cat killed, the blur killed. And it happens effectively the very instant the cat is warm and sitting in a room. The room measured the cat. The room is always measuring everything that's in it.
How fast, though? Put a clock to it. How long does a cat get to be a blur?
Less time than you own a word for. Quicker than light crosses the width of the cat. Quicker than a thought can start to form. For anything as big and as warm as a cat, the blur is gone so nearly at once. That at once is the only honest word left to reach for.
So the cat is kept from ever being a blur, not by some grand mind cracking the box open, but by the air, by the light, by its own warmth leaking the answer out to a room that simply cannot help but overhear it.
The universe is a terrible secret keeper. It cannot hold a which-way secret for the length of a heartbeat. The warmth blabs it, the light blabs it, every jostling molecule blabs it to the next one down the line. A lone atom in the cold dark keeps its secret beautifully for as long as you like. A cat couldn't keep that secret if its life depended on it, which, this one cruel time, it rather does.
So the secret's not kept by locks nor thick walls. It's betrayed by the cat just being warm, by its being a cat at all.
Anything large and alive in a world full of air and light, there's your betrayer. Smallness and cold and dark, those are the only three walls a secret has down here. A cat hasn't one of the three. It leaks the moment it exists.
It'll have a name too, this shredding. Everything you hand me does, sooner or later.
It does, and I'll set it down plainly. The blur comes apart. It decoheres. The moment the world tangles with it and carries off the which. It's real. It's measured in the laboratory, watched, timed to the smallest fraction. It's no comforting tale I'm spinning you by the fire, and it answers the cat's own scream, why the big world looks solid and settled and one thing at a time, why you never in your life catch the shimmer of a thing being two ways at once. That is a real and genuine piece of the puzzle, hard won and true, and I'll not have you thinking it small.
So if I wanted to keep a blur alive, a real one, big enough to lay eyes on, I'd have to starve the room of every last handshake. Cold, dark, alone, untouched.
Just what the patient souls in the cold laboratories do. Chill a thing near to nothing, hang it in the emptiest dark they can build, fight off every stray photon, all to keep one blur breathing a heartbeat longer. And the bigger the thing, the harder the room fights them for it.
Then we've done it, surely. That's your answer, whole. The room looks, the blur dies, the cats are playing cat. So why on earth did you sit me down and swear this word had no bottom to it? You've just gone and floored it for me.
Sit yourself back down. I've floored one half of it, and I will not let you walk out that door believing it's the whole. Here is the fence I will not let you climb over, and it's the honest heart of everything this morning. Decoherence tells you why you never see the blur, why the shimmer, the overlap, the both-at-once evidence is gone from the big world. It does not tell you which one you get.
Which one but the room killed the blur. What's left over to get?
Think carefully about what the room actually did. It took a single shimmering blur, alive and gone, laced together, able to interfere with itself, and it turned that into a tidy list of separate maybes that can no longer touch one another. A live cat on one page, a gone cat on a second page. The two pages sealed apart so they'll never shimmer at each other again. That's a real and enormous change, but I want you to stop and count the pages.
2. There are still 2 of them. Killing the shimmer didn't cross either one off. The list still has more than one line written on it.
More than one line still. Decoherence carried you the whole way from a weird blur that shimmers over to an ordinary-looking list of plain possibilities that don't. And there it sets you gently down, and there it stops. It does not cross off a single line of that list. After the room has done its absolute worst, the books still hold a live cat and a gone cat, the both of them. They've only stopped shimmering at one another. The last step, from the list of 2 down to the one cat you actually lift out of the box in your 2 hands, decoherence does not take. Not 1 inch of it.
So it explains why the world looks as though something's picked, without one solitary thing having actually picked.
That's the sentence to carry down the hill and keep by your bed. It explains the appearance of a settled world. It does not settle the world. And any soul who sells you decoherence as the finished cure for the measurement problem is selling you the half that shines and quietly pocketing the half that doesn't.
But once it's a plain list of 2, live cat, gone cat, no shimmer left, isn't that just an ordinary coin under a cup? I don't know which, and there's an end of it.
It looks for all the world the image of a coin under a cup, and whether it truly is only that, or something stranger wearing that plain coat, is the exact thing the 3 roads split over. Don't let the ordinary look talk you into thinking the ordinary answer's been earned.
Then the hole is still wide open under me. The room shreds the shimmer, grand, I'll take that gladly. But which line of the list do I actually end up reading? And what in the world crosses the other one off? That's still bare rock, and you've walked me right out onto it.
Out to the sheer edge of it now, and I'll not haul you back with a comfortable lie. From here on there's no experiment to lean your weight on, only careful thinking, and honest people who think it out differently and can't yet settle who's right.
Then walk me the roads, all 3, and I'll hold you to your word. Crown none of them.
The road forks 3 ways here. I'll walk you down every one of the 3, and I'll crown none of them, because not one of the 3 has earned the crown.
After all of this, you'll truly not pick one for me, and let me go home settled for once?
It isn't cowardice in me, and by the foot of the hill you'll see that. The physics itself hasn't picked. Here's the first road. Take the snap at its word. Rule 2 is a real event out in the world. When the measurement is truly done, the list does cross itself down to a single line. A real collapse, as real as a struck match. And the honest travellers on this first road will tell you straight to your face, they cannot yet say by what law it fires, nor at precisely which rung. They take the snap as a true feature of the world, and they stop asking how.
When does it fire, though, the real snap? Halfway up the ladder? At the detector? At my eye?
And there's the tender spot of the first road. It cannot yet say. Somewhere the smooth truly becomes the snap, out in the world. Ask exactly where, and the honest traveller goes quiet. A real event, with no agreed trigger to it.
Collapse is real, and don't ask how. That's a stone wall with a locked door set in it, and a little sign on the door that reads, "The door is the answer." I'll be honest with you, that one leaves me hungry.
Every road charges its toll. That's this one's. Here's the second, and it's a stranger beast by far. There is no snap. None. Not ever. Not anywhere. The first rule is the only rule, and it runs the whole way up the ladder. Atom, detector, cat, room, you, the postman, the lot of it, forever smooth. And nothing is ever crossed off that list.
But then both cats stay real. You said as much yourself not 5 minutes gone. The list keeps its 2 lines, live and gone. Where do I put a cat that's still on 2 pages?
And so the world simply grows a branch for each line. A branch in which the cat lived. A branch in which it didn't. Each branch every bit as real and solid as the other. And the you who opened the box runs down the one branch and meets the one cat, while another you, exactly as real, riding the other branch, lifts out the other cat. You only ever see one outcome because you only ever ride one branch. Nothing collapsed at all. The looking merely sorted which branch carries which you.
But hold! If every branch is real, and there's no dice anywhere in it, why do I ever meet Feynman's squaring at all? Why should the odds come out weighted?
You've laid your finger square on the second road's own hard homework, and I'll not pretend it's finished. To make the plain feel of weighted odds fall out of a world where simply everything happens is a real labour and an argued one. Each road, you'll notice, keeps a chore of its own it hasn't quite swept under the mat.
A whole world budding a twin of itself every single time a coin comes down. And a copy of me riding every last fork of it, each one dead sure he's the only one there is. That's either the maddest thing I've heard in 9 weeks on this hill, or the very plainest, and I honestly cannot tell you which.
You're in enormous company there. Here's the third road, and it's different right down in its bones. There was never a blur to collapse in the first place. The particle was always a real thing, sitting in a real place. It truly was one way the whole time, settled, definite, no shimmer to it ever. The wave is a separate thing entirely, riding alongside the particle like a pilot at its shoulder, steering where the real little thing goes. What looked to you like a smear was only ever your own ignorance of where the settled particle already sat. The answer was fixed long before you looked, and your looking merely found what was already, quietly, true.
But the 2 slits, if the particle sat at one real place the whole time, how did it ever weave the stripes that plainly need both?
The particle takes the one slit, a real path, through a real hole, but its guiding wave rolls through the both of them, laces the stripes, and steers the particle onto them. One thing goes the one way, its pilot feels the whole room. That's how this road keeps the stripes and the settled particle in the one breath.
So on that third road, nothing is ever blurred, nothing ever snaps, no branches ever bud. I was only ever in the dark about a plain fact that was sitting there in the box the entire time, waiting on me to be clever enough to find it.
Just so. No blur, no collapse, no twin worlds. A real particle, a real guiding wave at its side, and your own ignorance doing all the labour the great mystery only seemed to be doing. But this road hides a toll of its own in that pilot. The guiding wave has to reach clear across the whole room at once to steer its one small particle. a spooky, instant, everywhere reach it leans on and never once explains.
3 roads then. Collapse is real and mind your business how. Or no collapse ever and the world keeps every answer, each in its own budded branch, a me aboard every one. Or no blur at all, and a hidden guide had the real answer stashed the whole while. And you'll crown not one of the 3 for me.
Here is why I can't, and it's the sting worth carving over the lintel of the door. No experiment any soul has yet built can tell these 3 roads apart. Not one experiment. They agree, to the last decimal place, on every number you could ever hope to measure. The twist of the magnet, the rungs of the atom, the colour of the struck flame. That agreement is the very reason all 3 are still standing here in the morning with us. They quarrel only about what is really there. Behind the numbers, out where no instrument in the world can reach to check.
And that's not you playing coy with me across the fire. That's honestly, flatly, where the whole thing sits. Nobody knows which road is the true one.
Nobody knows which. And that is the true state of the science. Not a sweet I'm keeping in my pocket until you're older, the way I keep the machinery hidden under the rule. This one is a different creature altogether. On this one, the whole trade stands exactly where you stand this minute, at a fork in the road, in the honest dark, with no lamp any brighter than your own.
And you, after all your years at this fire, you've truly not a favourite you're keeping tucked behind your teeth.
I've leanings, on the nights I'm honest, the same as any soul who's lived alongside it this long. But a leaning is not a proof, and I'll not dress mine in a proof's good clothes and hand it to you as the answer. That would be the one lie this whole trade will not forgive.
I keep waiting, somewhere down in my chest, for you to tell me it's nearly cracked, that some sharp young soul is a year or 2 off nailing the answer to the wall for good and all.
I'll not tell you that, because it would not be true, and I've never yet handed you a comfort that wasn't. Sit a moment with the plain size of the thing. This is the most savagely well-tested theory the world has ever built. It foretells the twist of the magnet and the ladder of the atom and the exact colour of a struck flame to more decimal places than you'd have the patience to write out at this fire before the sun came up. And it has never once, in 100 years of the hardest trying by the hardest heads, been caught wrong. Not one time.
So there it stands, the one thing we've built that has never once told us a lie.
The surest thing we have ever made. And it cannot agree, among its own keepers, its own devoted people, about what happens in the plainest act a small child performs before breakfast. Looking at a thing to see how it came out. We can reckon both sides of that look to a fineness that beggars all belief. And we cannot say, in plain, honest words, what the look is.
And you don't say it like a man confessing a scandal, you almost say it like a man proud.
Not proud, but not ashamed either, and I'll tell you why. A lesser theory would have papered the whole over smooth and hoped you'd never think to look down through the floorboards. This one left the hole standing open and wrote its own name in chalk beside it. That humility is earned, and it's dearly bought. We do not yet know is a far harder sentence to say aloud than any confident answer at all. And the trade says it, out loud, about the very act that its every last triumphant prediction hangs upon. That's not weakness, that's the spine of the thing.
Does it keep you up, though? A hole that size, sitting under everything you've taught me to lean on.
Some nights. But it's a good kind of awake. The theory works, flawlessly, every last number, so nothing you actually rely on so much as wobbles. What's left open is deeper than any use, what is really there, behind the sums. A man can sleep sound on a working floor, and still lie awake honestly, wondering what holds it up.
So it's not shut up and calculate then, not never you mind what it means, boy, just turn the handle and read off the number.
You may shut up and calculate all you please if the number is the whole of what you're after, and the number will come out right every time. But the question of what actually happens when the world takes its look is a real question, and an open one, and pretending it was settled would be the one true dishonesty in a trade that is otherwise the most honest we own. It is not solved, it is not going quietly into any night, and it may well outlive every soul now drawing breath, the two of us square in the middle of them.
Then let's have the ritual before you swing that door shut on me. The honest folding of the sheets. What did we not do this morning so I don't go strolling home down the hill claiming the day earned me more than it did?
First, then, and I'll name each plainly, rather than let you find it missing later. I showed you the room shreds the shimmer, but I never once worked the real machinery underneath it. How two things tangle so their answers weld together, and the one carries off the other's which. There's a proper reckoning beneath that word, tangling, and the full of it is a whole fire on its own, 2 or 3 nights further up this hill.
You've leaned your whole weight on that word tonight, tangling, and slid past it 3 separate times.
Deliberately, every time. When two things tangle so their fates are welded, the cats living or not, soldered onto the atoms decayed or not, the flying scraps news soldered onto the cat, that welding has a name and a strangeness all its very own, deep enough to swallow a whole evening. I'll not crack it tonight. I only needed you to feel that it happens, not to work the sum of it. And the other 2 sheets, I did not crown a road, nobody living can, and I'll not pretend otherwise by my own fire. And I did not solve the measurement problem for you, not because I ran short of morning, but because it is not solved. Not by me, not by any soul yet living. I can point at the whole, clean and true. I cannot fill it. No one can. Not yet.
Folded, and honestly, wide open. And I can tell the 3 sorts apart now, which I plainly couldn't a month ago. An engine you've hidden under a cloth to cash me on a later night, against a hole in the world that nobody's yet filled. Different beasts entirely, and I'll not go muddling the one for the other.
Then you've caught the sharpest thing this course has to teach, and it isn't any single answer at all. It's knowing which of your questions have answers waiting patiently on a later night, and which have no answer anywhere yet, for anyone, and carrying the 2 in different pockets, without shame in either one. That's the same grain of honesty that ran through the business from the first night by this fire, the one that Plank was dragged to, kicking. Nobody dreamed a scrap of this up because it was pretty. It was forced on us, cornered out of hard facts.
Now, you've got that other look about you, the one you always wear with a hand already resting on a nicer door. You didn't haul me the whole way up this hill in the frost just to leave me staring down a hole in the world. There's a gift queued up behind your teeth, I can see it plain.
And it cashes an old promise you're owed. All 9 weeks, every last mile of them, we have asked what happens when you look at one quantum thing. A single electron, a single atom, a lone coin spinning in the dark. Next week, we stop looking at one and look at a crowd.
Just more of the same, I'd think. A crowd of electrons is many little coins instead of one.
Here's the thing that ought to prick your ear right up. A crowd of electrons is nothing at all like a crowd of people. 2 people, however alike, are still 2. You could tell the pair of them apart if you troubled to. 2 electrons cannot be told apart. Not by you. Not by the sharpest instrument ever ground. Not even, and this is the very marrow of it, by nature herself, keeping her own private books. There's no speck of paint on either one. They are identical in a way that nothing in all your everyday world has ever once been.
You mean truly no scratch on the one, no serial number, nothing at all to tell this one from that?
It cuts deeper than a missing mark, that. For 2 electrons, this one rather than that one isn't a hard question. It isn't a question at all. Nature keeps no ledger with their two names in separate columns. Hold that thought close. It's the very hinge next week swings on.
Truly identical, not a whisker of difference to catch a hold of, even in principle. And I've the feeling you're about to tell me that bare fact does something enormous.
Something enormous, yes, and I'll point you at it tonight, though the proof of it is next week's whole business. There's a rule, for electrons especially, that forces them apart. Herd identical electrons in together, and they flatly refuse to pile into the same state. They shove each other off. They hold one another at arm's length. They will not be squeezed down into one.
And I know exactly where you're steering me now, because you promised me this very thing last week, standing right by that magnet. The floor.
Just that. The reason your own hand doesn't pass right through the tabletop, like a spoon through cold porridge. The reason the ground holds your boots up of a morning, instead of letting you sink straight down through it. It isn't that atoms are hard little bricks stacked tight. It's that rule, the one that forces a crowd of identical things to hold apart, pushing back in every solid thing you have ever leaned your weight against in your whole life. That's the promise I banked by the magnet. Next week, at last, I pay it out in full. Next time, why matter takes up room.
Then here's the whole cold morning back to you in one breath, the way you always make me. I climbed up for a word, measure, and you gave me two rules that won't shake hands. A poor half-a-cat built to shame the smooth one, a ladder with no rung marked where the blur dies. And then the daylight, the room itself ceaselessly measuring, shredding the blur near the instant anything big draws breath. But you fenced me off honest. The shredding tells me only why the world looks picked, never which answer I get. And past that fence the road forks three ways, no experiment can tell apart, so you'd crown none. The surest thing we ever made, and it still can't say what a look is. So keep your undecided cat warm there by the grate. Next week, why that crowd of two alike electrons is the reason the floor comes up to meet my boots. I'll be at your door before the birds.